The nuclear industry wants to transport, then process, bury, and abandon all of Canada's high-level nuclear waste in northwestern Ontario. This is the third of 3 short explainer videos to support public discussion mid-2025. In July 2025, the Nuclear Waste Management Organization announced it was inviting input on an initial project description. In fact, it's a summary of a draft of their eventual initial project description. This is the short, glossy version. The NWMO intends to use the Revell site in the heart of Treaty 3 territory as the endpoint for all of Canada's high-level nuclear fuel waste. The NWMO project includes the transportation of the waste to the site, the processing of the waste in the used fuel packaging plant, the construction of the shafts, tunnels, and placement rooms, the transfer of the waste to the underground, the placement of the waste in the burial chambers, the backfilling and closing of those chambers, and then the tunnels and eventually the shafts, the decommissioning of the facilities, and the eventual abandonment of the waste. Throughout operations, low and intermediate and liquid radioactive waste will be generated, in addition to the high-level radioactive waste that will be brought to the site. Water will be pumped from the underground tunnels and emplacement rooms, and water will be contaminated in the processing facilities. Water will be held in constructed ponds on the site and then released to natural water bodies. Contaminants will be released to the air from the underground repository and from the used fuel packaging plant. In July 2025, the NWMO released a trial balloon for the impact assessment process, a very brief and glossy summary of a draft initial project description. This document is part promotional and part very general overview of some aspects of the NWMO project. It provides no information about the transportation or processing of the high-level waste, the generation of additional radioactive waste, or about the Revell site, or how the watersheds or the airshed will be impacted. The summary includes only very general and selective information about the project and the assessment process. On page 7, it does include one sentence that clarifies that the project is currently in the pre-planning phase and the impact assessment has not yet started. The document includes lots of graphics and images, but says little about many aspects of the project. In particular, it omits discussion of the radiological releases and related impacts, stating instead that, quote, due to the storage of the used nuclear fuel, the project may lead to perceptions of potential radioactive contamination, end quote. It does not describe the radioactive releases from transportation and from the processing of the waste, or the eventual failure of the buried containers, or the anticipated releases from those failed containers. Despite the page 7 clarification, the NWMO document and the presentation to Ignis Council in July overall create a mistaken impression that their current engagement is about the actual initial project description. While NWMO's current activities are not part of the impact assessment process, it can be expected that they will use the feedback they collect to shape their approach. The comment period on the actual initial project description will be carried out by the Canadian Impact Assessment Agency. NWMO says they're inviting your feedback. They're holding a couple of online sessions, a couple of information sessions in each of Ignis and Dryden, and have set a deadline of August 22nd. We, the Nuclear Free North, is neither encouraging nor discouraging providing feedback. We're strongly encouraging you to learn about the impact assessment and licensing process and about the NWMO's project, and to continue to communicate your concerns and questions to elected officials, and to talk about the project with friends, neighbors, family members, and community organizations. Should you choose to provide the NWMO with feedback, at this stage, we have a couple of suggestions. If sending written feedback, send a copy to the Minister of Natural Resources, and send a copy to the Federal Minister of the Environment. Send a copy to your Member of Parliament, and we'd appreciate your sharing a copy with We the Nuclear Free North. While the NWMO's recent brochure is not part of the formal impact assessment process, within the year we can expect to find ourselves in that actual process. Let's keep in touch and work together to make the assessment process accessible and the NWMO and federal regulators accountable. The first of this series of 3 short explainer videos provides background to the NWMO project. It's available on our YouTube channel. The second video in the 3-part series describes the impact assessment process. Thank you for watching. Let's keep in touch.